Right now, though, coronavirus has had a terrible impact on cancer treatment for far too many people. Only yesterday, Health Secretary Matt Hancock warned that some treatments can only be guaranteed if the virus is kept under control. Well, this morning we're continuing our Change and Check breast cancer awareness campaign by meeting Jen and Mary, who've been living with secondary breast cancer throughout this pandemic.
I'm Jennifer Cronji, I'm 41 years old and I have advanced metastatic stage 4 breast cancer.
Hello, my name is Mary Huckle. I am 54 years old. I was very unfortunate to contract COVID at the beginning of lockdown.
I was kind of caught in between the two big C's, right? Which are you more afraid of, COVID or cancer? Well, for everyone, lockdown was horrific, scary, anxiety-inducing.
It was particularly terrifying because I started to read all these different stories on social media and in certain papers and things about how they might start ranking stage 4 cancer patients with COVID who had to be admitted into hospital and possibly not getting a ventilator.
What I think scared me the most was hearing that those with cancer, stage 4 cancer, were not going to be treated. This is the rumour that was circulating, that we weren't going to be treated. We were just going to be, with some people being sent DNRs, do not resuscitate, if anything was to happen to them.
I didn't have my treatment for about 4 weeks. And yeah, it was a really scary time. The cancer resources were diverted, you know, screening stopped. Why would you stop cancer services?
Like, treatment shouldn't have been stopped for us cancer patients. It just shouldn't have happened. The
cancer had progressed and it actually spread as well. So I felt angry.
We deserve better. Cancer patients deserve better. All of it's just heartbreaking.
I feel so disgruntled at the fact that vital services were stopped during those crucial months.
It's almost like we weren't thought about. The lives of others were more important than the lives of cancer patients. That's how it felt.
Well, Mary and Jen join me now. Dr. Hillary is here as well. Thank you both so much for joining me. I mean, we think we've got it bad. Look what you had to deal with. I mean, Mary, first of all, you actually had COVID, which was horrendous, you know, as if you've not got enough to be dealing with. And, you know, you spoke there about how frightening it was and how you sort of felt as if you'd been left behind.
Yes, it was exactly like that. And like Jen had said in the earlier VT just now, it was a case of like, am I more frightened of, you know, having COVID and the repercussions of that, or actually having cancer? It was really scary. It was a very scary time for myself and my family. You know, and the irony of it is I could have actually carried on having my treatment, but it was actually suspended because I had COVID. It would have been too dangerous for me to continue with the chemotherapy at the time that I was having. So it was taken out of my hands. I had no choice. But for people that had the choice and weren't given that choice, I think it's particularly devastating, because being off treatment is not the best thing when you're a stage 4 cancer patient. It's basically your lifeline. So you need that treatment. You know, you don't want to be off treatment.
No, of course not. Of course not. Both of you look incredibly well, but you're not. You're absolutely not. And stopping that treatment, Mary, when they stopped that treatment, I mean, where are you now? What's your situation at the moment?
So when the treatment stopped, I was off for 4 weeks for the duration of my symptoms, basically, and I had progression in those 4 weeks, and subsequently I had to change treatment. So I'm on another IV chemotherapy at the moment. So it was not good. Not a good situation.
It's
so
horrendous.
I'm on chemo at the moment, and just hoping that this one that I'm on continues to work for me as long as possible.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Of course you can. You've got to have hope. Mary, Sorry, Jen, and again, an absolute nightmare for you. Really, really difficult. I'm so glad that you're talking about this just now, because so many people who are living with cancer are feeling as frightened as you.
Yeah, yeah. It hasn't been easy. You know, I literally didn't leave my house, I think, from the 8th of March. And the first thing I did was to contact my oncology team, because I was hearing that, you know, the treatment was stopping and various things. And, you know, they wanted to stop my treatment. And I just said to them, that's not an option. As a stage 4 cancer patient, you can't afford for your treatment to be stopped. So the agreement we came to was that my dosage of oral chemotherapy would be reduced, which I was okay with. And it meant also that I didn't have to go into the hospital. I wouldn't have to go in for scans. I wouldn't have to go in for blood tests. And at the time, I was more afraid of getting COVID. So not going in for scans, although it wasn't ideal, I was like, okay, that's fine. It means I don't have to go into a hotspot. So yeah, it's been crazy. It's been a crazy few months, but yeah.
And where are you just now then, Jane? What's going to happen with you, and how are you feeling right now, and what treatments are going to be available to you?
So basically what actually happened with me is that as the COVID numbers started dropping, I contacted my oncology team and I was like, I want to come in for a CT scan. And I actually had to have a bit of an argument with my oncologist secretary, and eventually I got this scan, and they literally called me back the following day, and I had to go in, and they told me that I actually had progression. My mets have always been in my lungs and my spine, but they said that they found a couple of spots in my liver as well. So straight away my treatment stopped, and that was 2 months ago. I actually haven't started treatment yet. I was due to start a trial last week, but again, I had a new biopsy done, and it showed that the pathology of my tumours had changed, so I didn't qualify for that trial anymore. So I'm actually due to go into the hospital as soon as we finished here, and I should be starting a new treatment, and hopefully it will work. You know, at the moment, obviously in the last 2 months since I've been off treatment, I've had further growth as well. But the crazy thing is that I actually feel really good. I spent the whole of lockdown working out every day and various things to keep my mind sane. And so when my oncologist was like, well, haven't you been getting chest infections? Haven't you had backache? And I was like, no, I actually feel great. But that's the thing with cancer, you just don't know. Like, it's all going on.
No, you don't. And it's hanging on to that. Yeah, it's hanging on to that hope, isn't it, Jen? It's just hanging on to that for both of you. Dr. Hillary's here. Now, obviously, COVID kind of took over, as we know, and it was the priority, but at what a cost? I mean, just talking to Jen and to Mary there, you know, they're just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many people in the same boat.
Mary and Jen, my heart goes out to you both. You've framed you've underlined the issue so clearly there, so eloquently, and we wish you well. This just shows what the problem is. You've got two huge uncertainties. You've got COVID uncertainty, you've got cancer uncertainty. Can people just imagine what it's like to have stage 4 breast cancer? So it's metastasized, it's spread through the body, and your treatment is your lifeline, as they've explained. And we desperately need people to come forward, you know, with any symptoms that resemble cancer. Call your GP. A GP can see you. It might take longer than usual because everything has to be deep cleaned and PPE has to be applied. But cancer services must continue, and people must continue with their treatment. It is their life.
What about Matt Hancock saying, unless we get COVID, you know, under control, then cancer, you know, it's almost like, well, it's one or the other.
No, it's got to be both at the same time.
Exactly.
You know, you've got to have the bed capacity to treat cancer patients. You've got to have the diagnostic services, the scans, the treatment, the oncologists working and not redeployed elsewhere to tackle COVID. So you need presumably COVID-dedicated hospitals and areas, and everything else must continue the same. Otherwise, we're going to lose patients. And it's already been estimated that we could lose 36,000 people to cancer that's been neglected as a result of concentrating on COVID. So we need to address this urgently.
We do. Hilary, thank you very much.
Thank you,
and Jen and Mary, thank you for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it. Please keep in touch with us. Let us know how you're getting on with your treatment. And all the very best to you. All the very best to you. Thank you.
Lorraine, can we just mention very quickly about secondary breast cancer?
Yes.
Just a very, very quick mention about secondary, because one of the other reasons why we came onto the show was just to talk about Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and how both myself and Jen feel very passionately about raising awareness about secondary breast cancer, because it's, Breast Cancer Awareness Month very much focuses on primary, which is great, but it's not the actual disease that kills, it's secondary. So we really are quite passionate about raising awareness about secondary breast cancer, and maybe sort of talking about, the red flag symptoms that people have to look out for, that sort of stuff. But maybe another time now.
No, you're absolutely right. Do you know what? You're right. It's so important, and it is something that often sadly gets forgotten about. But thank you so much for bringing that up, and we will definitely revisit that, and we'll talk to both of you again.
Thank you both.
Thank you for doing that. And don't forget, on our website, you can download the Change and Check posters showing you the symptoms to look out for. That's where you'll also find Dr. Hillary's video guide to checking your boobs. And if you want to spread the message as well on social media, do keep posting your boomerangs. It's Dr. Amir. Right, after the break, the viral clip that's set to leave you confused all day. And Ross is back, of course.